A good afternoon. Tom Ginn, G-Force. G is for gratitude. Gratitude powers your potential. We will be right back. Good afternoon. Tom Ginn here, G-Force. We may have a little diversion going on here today, a little change in schedules. Don't know quite for sure. Maybe there's a confusion on times and that type of thing. Today is scheduled guest is Glenn Bill. But I'm going to just start out a little bit about gratitude today. Gratitude, I believe, is one of the strongest principles that we can apply in our lives. And I believe it opens up the gates to dealing with anything that in a positive way that we're dealing with. Just keep in mind, we can't hold a negative thought and a positive thought at the same time. Now, we can go back and forth in a very quick, rapid fire with that, but we can't really hold but one thought at a time. And that goes right in hand with one of my favorite people that when I ran across his book, Glenn Bill, The ABCs of Attitude. I highly encourage anybody out there listening today to get this book, study the book, because our attitudes are belief systems. And we have two types of attitudes. We have negative attitudes and we also have positive attitudes. And, get attitude. Is that positive or negative? It could be either, or change your attitude. That's a negative. So we have attitudes about everything. We have attitudes about today, what's going on with today, the politics and all those things. I just guess who's jumping on? My guest today. Hey, Glenn, how you doing?
Hey, Tom, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I am absolutely ecstatic. You're one of my favorite people, Glenn.
How are you, my friend?
So,
I'm going to need
absolutely. We are live, my friend. We are live. You're one of my favorite people, Glenn. How are you, my friend? I got some. You've got some reverb there, my friend. We are live. You're one of my favorite people. I got some. You've got some reverb there, my friend. We are live. It's one of those days, Glenn.
Yes.
Yeah, you just got to put a smile on your face and just love the attitude, right? Yeah, Glenn.
I'll come back in.
You just got to put a smile on your face and yeah, come back in. That'll be great. As he's getting the technical things squared away, G-Force, I established this program in relationship to my personal development coaching. And one of the strongest principles I've incorporated in my life and helped my clients is in the area of gratitude. And I think he has his finger up.
Are we good? Yeah.
We are good.
All right. So sorry about that.
For gratitude, I believe it powers our potential. And, when I first got Glenn's book, started reading it, applying it in my own life, I think this is one of the clearest books that you can read about understanding what attitude is. And I use these principles in my coaching program, along with some principles that I believe are very important to understand the power of gratitudes and vision and those type of things. And Glenn, I'm excited to have you here today. I did my little rollout already, so we're ready to rock and roll. I know you'll be able to flow with anything that comes across here. So, Glenn, I'm excited to have you here today. I always like to start out the program with, sharing your why, where you're from, those type of things. And so our relationship is how I know about you. And I think and I would like to give credit here too, is how things happen is through the Grow Live Academy, Ken Walls.
Yes.
Yeah. And been following you for quite a number of years now. And when I saw you on Glenn's program, and I said, I got to have this person on my program. So why don't we do this, Glenn? We didn't have a chance to really do the pre-launch thing here, but why don't you just share a little bit about, where you're at, about your family, whatever you feel like to do. And we'll just go from there. I just like to have just straight dialogue, banter back and forth, and maybe throw a few questions at you as we go. So.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Well, thanks so much for having me, Tom. And you're doing a great job with your show. As a podcaster, I know how hard it can be to go live. I think are you every day, darn near?
Well, 3 to 4 days a week. I've run 3 different live stream programs around different entities that I'm involved with in my businesses. So
cool.
So I want to bring that value. So.
Well, congrats to you and being able to do that. And Ken Walls is just a great guy, and he's been a nice mentor for me as well, and love what he does. And for those of you who are watching, welcome. My name's Glenn Bill. I am the founder of the University of Attitude, which you can see behind here is Attitude Fest. We do a lot. We're considered America's #1 source for attitude identification, attitude development, and attitude education. So we give keynote speeches all around America on attitude for major, Fortune 500 companies, associations, and things like that. We have a lot of fun, engaging content that we do for those large group keynotes. We just brought on a gentleman by the name of Gary Brackett, who is the starting linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts in their 2007 Super Bowl. He was captain of the team with a young man named Peyton Manning, who I'm sure most of you know. And Gary and I have been doing small business sessions, helping people with morale, helping people with retention, leadership, and attitude issues. And we just had our first client. We did a show last week, and it was great. And we're going to be continuing to build on that program. And I've been in the real estate business and just published my second book called Source of Sales. And this is a book that helps real estate brokers and agents sell 52 homes a year, creating a weekly paycheck for your family and your wealth. And that's been a labor of love. I created the Source of Sales system about 15 years ago. It's taken me about 15 years to turn it into a book. We had live CDs and live trainings, but now it's officially a book with a workbook, and it's for real estate people. But if you're in sales, trust me, buying the Attitude book and the Source of Sales book and working through those workbooks, you'll find the mindset that it really takes to be a servant salesman, to be a realtorpreneur is 2 different terms that I've been trying to coin. I'm sure servant salesman's been done, but I haven't heard it before. And so we're out just having a lot of fun and, brokering a lot of big commercial real estate deals and buying buildings and helping people buy homes and just, enjoying and living life to the fullest. Another thing I did for 25 years was coach a high school football team. We were fortunate enough to be a part of 13 state championships as a player and a coach. So a lot of success there. I'm a football guy, really, really excited that the season's coming in. And just looking forward to serving your audience today and answering anything I can answer for you, Tom.
Well, Glenn, there's a number of things that being an athlete back in the day, and love football coaches. I love what football coaches bring to help individuals grow, challenge themselves. And I know you understand how to bring the right attitude to what it takes to improve and win in life. And I think sports goes beyond just a game. And it's been probably one of the greatest influences having coaches in my life. And I love coaches. I love my first business association with was probably a coach you may be well aware of, Art Williams.
Yes.
And knew him personally, and he talked my language. And so I just love anybody that's in coaching, from the sports side, because that sort of lights my fire up, how they deliver their message and get you focused in on an outcome. So that's one of the other things I just love about having you on today is that I relate to coaches. But tell a little bit about where are you from?
I was born and raised in Indianapolis, and I'm still here. I live about 2 miles away from the home I grew up in, and about 2 miles or about less than a mile away from the school and high school that I coached at and went to. So not uprooted, not transplanted, very rooted in the Indianapolis community on the north side of Indianapolis. And I love it here. Love the Midwest way of life. Doesn't mean I wouldn't love it anywhere else, but I got 4 grandbabies that kind of keep me anchored here. So that's a big thing for me. 4
grandbabies.
Yes.
I'm a transplant to the Midwest. I'm here in the southeastern part of Wisconsin in a community called Oconomowoc. I'm from California.
Wow.
But I love the Midwest, in many different ways. But share a little bit about, your transition from, being a football coach. When did you get into real estate? When did you start recognizing that you wanted to put something together to help people improve their lives around the principle of attitude?
Well, my experience really goes back to college football. I was fortunate enough to receive a scholarship to Ball State University to play. And while I was at Ball State, I had a family, and I said, okay, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to play football anymore. So I went out into the world and found this wonderful thing called real estate brokerage. I actually started leasing apartments and created some really great programs that helped our owner reach 90% occupancy. One of those programs being free groceries for a week when you rent with us. And people recognized my talent, and they said, you ought to get your real estate license. So I was 18 years old, got my real estate license, started my real estate career at 19. And then obviously, not being too far, 2 years out of college, I was a pretty good football player and had a lot of friends. In the high school coaching business, there's a lot of young coaches. So I had some guys that taught me and coached me that said, hey, we'd love you to come out and help us with football. So as I started my real estate career, I also committed to volunteer coach at our local high school. And took a couple of years off as I was building my business, but I always coached football every year I did as I built my real estate business. And one of the biggest things that I tell people, entrepreneurs and business owners, is, I know you got to commit everything to your business, but one of the best things you can do for your business is commit to your community. And I know that entrepreneurs and business owners want to work 24/7 on, in their business, not working on their business. And what I found is most successful entrepreneurs, salespeople, business people, when they're giving of themselves for free on a goal that's bigger than them, what you'll find is that reciprocates in your business. So that's basically what I did. For the 25 years I built my business, I coached football, and then sold everything when I was about 37 years old, maybe 39. I can't remember. I'm 54 now. And once I owned 3 Century 21 real estate franchises. Once we sold out of those, I still sold real estate, still coached for a little bit. But then I really started getting into training and improving people's lives. And I helped build our company with my partners, Steve Decatur and Tim O'Connor, on our sales meetings and doing sales training and sales meetings every Tuesday. And for 17 years, when I owned that, for some reason, following and learning and listening to the masters of personal development, I took what they had and I related it to our business. And at the end of that run, I had this file called sales meetings. And I went, oh my God, this is how we built our business. This is how agents came to see us. And so my sales meetings turned into this book called Source of Sales, right? And so this has my personal story of what I've done and how I've overcome. But it also literally is 20 years of real estate knowledge and sales excellence smashed into a book and a workbook. And so that's how Source of Sales came about. And then been 5 to 7 years ago, we wrote the ABCs of Attitude, and which you got there. And people said, how did you do what you did? How did you start at 18, buy the business at 23, sell it at 30 or at 40? How did you do that and coach football and have 4 kids? And, I was coaching Pop Warner CYO football with the varsity. And people still to this day go, how do you do as much as you do, right? And then I said, well, obviously it's all about attitude. It's about 6 inches between your ears. It's about expecting more out of yourself than anyone else. And so I just do it. I set goals. There's things that I want to achieve, and I make it happen. And so I am a goal setter, but I don't get too deep in the weeds in the goal setting. I'm an outcome setter is what I say instead of a goal setter. So I create the outcome that I desire. I manifest it. I make it happen. And I won't let anything stop me. And so the 10 principles of attitude, which I'm sure you've gone through in our book, are really the 10 commandments of attitude, at least in my life. And what's been so cool is those 10 boosters have gone viral. We have tens of thousands of people that have my card, that hold my card, that live by those principles. We love to talk about the principles and find out which principle's the one that impacted them the most, which one's the easiest, which one's the hardest, which one do your kids say that you need to work on, and which ones can you tell your kids that they need to work on. So it's become a real neat thing for families. A lot of times, especially in today's world with metaverse and the goggles, our children are disconnecting from the parents. There's no point of connection. And my little attitude business cards, when somebody goes to my seminar, they go, oh my God, these 10 boosters, and they don't come in too good, but
there you go. You got
it. But when they bring these home and they go home to their child and say, hey, I went to this thing today. I would love to know which one of these do you think I can improve on? Usually the kids have a really good idea of what mom or dad could get better at. And we found that started a real nice conversation between families. So that's possibly the greatest gift that the ABCs of Attitude has given me.
I always like, you being a coach and you're clear on your outcomes. I call that your vision. You know what the end result's going to be, and you work towards that. You mentioned some things that I also coach in and been coached on is without a clear vision, goals don't work,
Right.
Because you got to have a strong emotional attachment to the outcome you seek, no matter whether it would be in your personal life, spiritual life, your business, and how they all come together. But so I love what you just said a moment ago. When did you, I always like to ask this, because we all have people that have influenced us or continue to influence, but who was the person or people that influenced you early on as a young person, or as you developed in your career, your businesses, and that? Who are some of the greatest influencers that you lean into I think that's important for me to know and other people to know.
Sure. Well, I think, as I ask on my podcast, the Good Attitude podcast, I ask much the same question. And, fortunately, I was able to have great parents. I had a father who was a coach. He sold steel for steel parts. And I had a mother that was a teacher, but they were both really teachers when it was all said and done. My father coached youth athletics in 6 decades. They're both passed now. But, I had great parents that were teachers that understood the value of team and education. So, that started it off. They were both very faith-based as well. So I went to public schools just as all my brothers and sisters did. And then they closed our junior high and I got into Catholic schools. And we were a pretty Catholic family as it went. But, as I studied religion, I would say, obviously I really became a follower of Jesus Christ. And obviously huge influence in my life as I, live for him and ask him to make me the husband, father, person, leader, coach that I'm meant to be. So I do feel like I'm driven by faith in what I do. And that's why I have no fear. And then, a guy by the name of David Harling, when I was 18, hired me in the real estate business. Every real estate company in Indianapolis said, you're never going to make it. You're working at Mr. Video. You're working third shift, shoveling paper. You're going to college. And now you're going to start a commission-only sales business. And so David Harling was the first person that found me in real estate. And I started selling and outselling everybody in the company, even before I was 21. But I knew from the very first paycheck when my broker took half of my check, I said, I gotta be that guy. So I'm pretty street smart. And so at 23, Tim O'Connor and Steve Decatur asked me to join them in the purchase and build of Century 21 at the Crossing. And we took that from 16 agents to about 150 agents to 3 different offices, 10 million in revenue. And so, those two people, partners of mine, certainly found me and put me on the right track. And then as we built that company, Tommy Hopkins trained me in sales. I'm a big fan of Tom. Floyd Wickman was another one. But then I found, Mike Ferry was a great one. But when I really started to hit, Tony Robbins, I went in, paid him all the money, did everything, walked on coals, did all that. So Tony was really, really great for me as we were growing. I found Jim Rohn actually after Tony, and Jim was just, he wasn't alive when I was listening to him, but boy, did I listen to him, still do. So those guys, on the personal development end of it were pretty substantial. When I started speaking publicly, Jeffrey Gitomer was, asked me to come and audition for him, and I was horrible and did the totally wrong assignment, but he saw something in me that said this guy could probably be pretty good from the stage. So Jeffrey really got my speaking career going and helped me, make that happen. So, I've had a lot of other people, but those are kind of the, on the monumental marks, those were the people that were walking with me and helping me move along. And, now I'm doing some pretty massive commercial real estate deals. And what my old chemistry teacher from high school is one of my biggest clients. And he's been awesome to me. And I've been floating around that world with some pretty influential, unbelievable people. And then, I after 31 years of the franchise real estate sales business, I looked around and I found this thing called EXP Realty.
Sure.
And so now I am helping EXP grow their brand throughout the nation. But I'm training real estate agents. I'm an unbranded trainer, but still I'm listing and selling, and that's the brokerage I'm with. And they're just a rocket ship, and they're really agent obsessed, and they've kind of flipped the traditional real estate model on its head. And that cost me some speaking gigs, obviously, but other times it gives me opportunities. So I move forward as I need to move forward, and if people want to hear my message, they will, and if they don't, they won't. So I don't really worry about it too much.
Yeah, you got the attitude that's appropriate that life gives us, the challenges that they're out there. So I'm all about, I was introduced to personal development and didn't realize it in the beginning when I first went into financial service. I was in the financial services arena, had my own agency for nearly 26, 27 years. So
wow.
Went off and did some other things. The Art Williams, I was in the early days of that movement.
And I sat in a few A.L. Williams meetings. I can promise you that.
I'm sure you did. But that was, the first thing that I was taught from one of the leaders was my first influence of personal development was the Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. And we studied that book every Thursday. We had assignments. We did the writing. We did all that. And at some point, we were all saying, "Come on, Richard. Let's get out in the field. Let's do something else." But I didn't realize it took me number one in the company in sales, and I thought it was all me. I thought it was all my ego got into it. And when Richard left to start World Financial, suddenly I was no longer number one. I sort of dropped down. I'm an achiever. I'm a driver. I just I want to win all the time in anything I do. But I recognize, why did that happen? And it wasn't until a number of years ago, and that's why I want to ask this question here, is I went through a number of businesses. I love being an entrepreneur, and I love helping people. That's the bottom line. That's my core thing, that I want to help people improve their lives in a significant way. And I wanted to get back into financial service. Now, my wife sort of rolled her eyes up a little bit, because when you have an agency and you're training agents and you're in the field with people, sometimes you don't have a family life, So I said, I'm going to get back in financial services. And she says, "What do you mean?" Eyes rolling like a slot machine. And I said, "No, I've been following Dave Ramsey for 20 some years. I said, I want to become but what Dave said, success in winning with money is only 20% knowledge. And what I understand, it applies to everything. It's all the rest of it is about belief.
Yes. And
behavior and attitudes. And so that moved me into the personal development. I went out and I got certified with John Maxwell. All these people just fine-tuned me. Then Bob Proctor. My wife are both certified Bob Proctor people.
Wow.
I have other mentors that I plug into, because I know coaching and mentoring is such a powerful thing. And it's a sad thing that people don't realize they need somebody in their life to keep them on course or give them the advice. So what would you say to people out there about why coaching and personal development? Because that's your space as well. You've succeeded in your life because you've had those mentors in that. Just share with people how important it is to get coaching, personal development.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jim Rohn said it all. If you want change in your life, you must change, right? And so your life is only going to grow and expand and give you the vitality that your mind and the meaning of your life has, that you've attached to it. So show me a small mind, I'll show you a small achiever. Show me a big mind, I'll show you a big achiever. Very few big achievers are small-minded, and very few low achievers have this great vision. But if you can't influence yourself, you can't influence others. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. If you can't train yourself, you can't train others. If you can't educate yourself, you can't educate others. And so really it does start with you. And very rarely will you ever be able to help people. Very rarely will you be able to help people achieve what you've done. So you're never going to learn with the people you help. So you have to learn from the people that are doing better than you. And, number 5 on the card is have a mentor copy them. And, the quickest, fastest way to success in any of the 9 cycles of life are to look at the people that are crushing it financially, spiritually, education, personal, work, financial, and mimic them and mentor them and learn from them. So, why personal development? The bottom line is, personal development is maybe a bit of a pigeonhole. It's really just, life development or brain development or spiritual development, whatever it might be. But you can't grow, right, without a mentor, right? And so principle number 7 is grow or die. And what the book basically says is whatever challenge whoever's watching this is facing in their life, think of the biggest challenge in your life. You need to understand you're not the only person that's ever had that challenge. And you need to understand there's probably 10 books on people that have gone through the challenge. And so when we talk about personal development or education, we also call that growing. And the bottom line is growing is the way out of every problem that you have or whoever's watching this. The answers are there. Seek and you will find. And you're not stuck. You don't have your own unique problem or your own unique circumstances. And the answers are there for you. So there's no reason to stay stuck in helplessness. There's no reason to stay stuck in that's just me. We're here to do things and to help people move. And unless you grow and unless you're developing, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, because I think it's so important. I see it all the time, and I've been seeking out as I grow. I want to grow. I want to get into a circle like a Glenn Bill circle, and because there's just what you're sharing today just reinforces things that I've been learning over the years, and it caused me to get a different perspective, and it as it gets to my soul. I think that's the key. If growth is that what's your emotional attachment to? And unfortunately, people are emotionally attached, either negative or positive. And that sort of leads to something I saw in one of your videos on your website is that, and I love what you say in the book here too, is that people say, well, I got a great attitude. But then they say they start bitching about the weather.
Right.
How can that's a negative attitude, right?
Right.
So, we people I don't think people really understand the depth of gratitude and the depth of attitudes, what it really is, because we have an attitude about everything.
Sure. The
color of this pen, we have an attitude.
Right.
It could be anything. And I believe if you understand your attitudes, you're driving in that direction.
No question.
At this moment, if I have something negative about black ink, it's that negative attitude is going to carry into the next moment in our conversation.
Correct. Yes.
So expand a little bit about, because I love what you said in that one video. What do you hear? Negative or positive attitudes.
Right.
Just expand on that. I just love what you said.
Well, I mean, oftentimes people think they have positive attitudes, but they really don't. Right. And so the definition of attitude is the way you dedicate yourself to the way you think. And so I always ask people, do you know people that aren't happy unless they're pissed off all the time? Right. That's kind of the idea. Do you know people that aren't happy unless they're one-upping or topping somebody all the time? And so when it comes into negative or positive, how to see things, it's a choice, right? The definition of attitude is the way you dedicate yourself to the way you think. So how am I really dedicating myself to the way I think? And so when we say it's a choice, yeah, that's easy. And people say it's easy, but it's really a dedication. It's really found, positive attitude is really found by asking yourself when you become negative or jaded or snide, what is the good in this situation, right? And to take it to the extreme, people say, well, what's the good in a child dying? What's the good in a 10-year-old child dying? And, the Bible tells us, not that I'm a preacher, that it is through death that we learn how to live. And so we can look at a 10-year-old child dying as traumatic, life-changing, and horrible, which it is. Or we can look at that 10-year-old child and say, what did I learn from that child? What can I take from that child who has passed on, spread into the world, and honor the life that person was here? So that's certainly a choice. So I can, go in a cocoon, or I can leverage the life that I was able to participate in. And that's an extreme, obvious, right? They didn't put ketchup on my hamburger, right, at McDonald's. So I'm pissed because they screwed up my order because there's no freaking ketchup on it. Well, the bright side, now, how is this positive? Well, the positive side is you're not probably going to put 30 grams of sugar in your body. And you can maybe eat an ice cream and have ketchup on your burger. So that's a good thing. And so when we talk about the process of finding the positive in every situation, that's what I'm talking about.
Glenn, I've studied gratitude, and one of my favorite teachers in that is a person called Robert A. Emmons. And what do we like? Even like you said, shared with something that we would never want to have, the loss of a loved one, right?
Yes.
But if we go and focus on the good that person brought to us, the feelings that we have, it's not going to change our grieving. It's not going to change the circumstances. But when we go to gratitude, I believe that just opens up, I call it the gates to higher being. And I call that love. Because you can't hold a negative and a positive thought at the same time. Impossible, right?
Correct. Yes, I agree.
So how would you relate gratitude with attitude? I think what's your attitude about gratitude, or what's your attitude vice versa? So,
well, I think actually it's one and the same. They're just one has a G in front of it, right? That's why we're at the G-force, baby. That's why we're here today. So gratitude's a little better than attitude. Gratitude, attitude, as you so accurately said, you got negative attitudes and positive attitudes. Gratitude is affirming and living in the positive attitude realm. Very tough to be grateful and negative at the same time, just like you so eloquently said. So gratitude is if you looked at the sphere of attitude, positive, negative, then all of a sudden this middle thing, is called gratitude. So that's the way I see it. Gratitude forces you to stay positive by being grateful.
Great. Your Attitude University.
Yeah.
What's that platform about? And I saw something here. I just want to pose this to you. Is your Attitude University? What does that offer people? That is it programs, classes?
Yeah, so the University of Attitude is where you want to go, universityofattitude.com. Actually, if you just go to glennbill.com and click on University of Attitude, we do keynote speeches, we do seminars, we do half-day seminars. If you feel that your company or business is suffering from morale problems, retention problems, leadership problems, disruption problems, we help you understand what attitude is as related to leadership, as related to morale, as related to disruption, as related to customer service. Those are our 5 keynotes and programs that we do, and just general attitude. We also have this thing called the Attitude Movement, which we were doing great with right up until COVID, and COVID squashed it. Global Attitude Awareness Day is April 15th. So on 2019, if you remember, it was about March 20th. So 19 got squashed, 20 got squashed, and then 21, the next thing we knew, we still weren't out of COVID really yet in 21. So we were right at the beginning. So we lost 3 years of it. And then, 22 came and we weren't even prepared. So our goal is to get the Attitude Festival, Global Attitude Awareness Day, back on April 15th, or we may actually pick another day because the Midwest, the weather gets tough. But the Attitude Movement, simply this, you can go to our Facebook page and just join it. But we want to try to get 1 million people around the world to join the Attitude Movement, to commit to doing 3 things a day. One, which is being grateful and saying thank you to the people that love you. Number 2, we want you to volunteer your time or volunteer your money. And number 3, we want you to get moving, because we know that motion creates emotion. And we know that if we can at least get you walking for 1 mile a day, that's going to affect your attitude. And we know all three of those things will affect your attitude. So we call that the attitude pledge. And we try to help people do that every day for the month of April, which is Global Attitude Awareness Month. And so coinciding with the book and the movement, that's kind of what we've been doing. Haven't done a great job with it, to be honest with you, through the COVID. We're doing other stuff, but in general, that's what it is. And we're looking forward to what we want to do is find 50 attitude ambassadors in each state to become the attitude ambassador for the University of Attitude, to put on their own attitude festival. And that's a really cool thing. We find 20 not-for-profits in our local business, in our local economy, our local city. And we're looking for startup nonprofits, people that aren't known. And I rent out a city park. We have what's called the 501c3 corral. So all 20 not-for-profits go to the 501c3 corral and put their things. And then we have beer and live music and food and face painting. And we just invite everybody to the park. And then as they come and have fun at the Attitude Fest, it gives these 20 501c3s the ability to tell their story to the public. And that's what Global Attitude Awareness Day is. And if we're able to raise money, then that's great. That's what we try to do.
Cool. That's, so much needed is, people have to, have some faith. And, you mentioned that earlier, but I think faith it has two edges to it. But I moved to faith with certainty. There's no doubt. That's what faith is having certainty.
Yes.
And if you look that up in the dictionary, and I think that's a very powerful thing that a lot of people miss. They take faith and just hope something will change in their life, right, or wish something would change, or they may want something. But when you move to faith with certainty, and that creates the attitudes to deal with life. Life gives us no guarantees, right?
That is true. And, as Tony Robbins says, one of your 6 fundamental human needs is that for certainty. And we know that 70% of people operate out of certainty. And so we work on certainty a lot. I don't do faith-based certainty because I probably wouldn't get hired as much as I do. But this concept of certainty and understanding what certainty is, how it affects you, both positively and negatively. Certainty also can affect people with, by lowering their standards. The biggest issue with certainty for people, 7 out of 10 people crave it more than any other need in their life, is it allows them to lower the bar. And if they lower the bar for themselves, their lives, or their business, they know that they're always certain that they're going to suck and they get stuck. And so that's what we help people identify, that, oh my gosh, I'm lowering the bar on myself because I crave certainty so much. Yeah. And so that's well said on your part. Yeah, that's settling or conformity. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's the message out there for everybody. And what you're inspiring me to do is to start looking at things differently. I just like your attitude movement. How I just like right here. This is a Guinnessism right here. Yeah, this came to me yesterday coaching one of my clients. We were dealing something she wanted, and she wanted her voice to be heard. And I said, your voice is already there. But how do you get your voice to be heard? Is your voice becomes stronger when you hear the other person's voice first. Yeah, that's awesome, Tom. That's great. Love it. And that goes in line with Maslow. Do you see me? Do you hear? And do you care? And I think in sales as well, or in business, are we really listening to people? Are we really hearing them? Are we empathetic with them? And can we demonstrate we care? Doesn't mean we agree with them, but I think that's an area that I know as a salesperson, it was always about me talking first and not sitting back and listening, so that when I'm able to address what they were talking about, now my voice has some power. Yes. Yes. Real true communication begins when the other person feels heard. Exactly. Right. So you can't communicate unless that other person's feeling like they haven't been heard or are being heard. So I like to go back to something you said earlier. I'm an entrepreneur, and my wife and I, we have several businesses. We have a wellness center, and I do some other things in and around that. My coaching.
I used to have, I shut down my consulting business, cost reduction services for businesses. I wanted to focus on one specific area where I think I can make more impact in people's lives.
Yes.
But you mentioned something about the real estate industry. You mentioned EXP.
Yes.
I know a little bit about that, but it's a disruptor in that industry, right?
It is, yes.
And it's not traditional broker dealer relationship, building those outlets there. Because a lot of people get turned off by this one word, network marketing.
Sure.
And all business is network marketing. It's just how does that business model work for you?
Right.
Share with me a little bit and the audience a little bit about, I know your real estate. What was the reasoning to do that? If you don't mind, it's up to you.
Sure. Yeah. No problem. I owned a traditional shop, right? I had 3 offices. I had 3 buildings. I had, we were burning $100,000 a month running our brokerage. And in order to sustain that, we had to charge the agents that sold for us more money to subsidize our business as brokers. And so the traditional 120-year-old model of real estate was, national. We called them the kings of real estate. Your national franchise owner, then you would have your regional owners, then you would have your manager level, then you would have your broker owner and their sales managers, and you'd have this whole triangle, if I can do it backwards, of people that were receiving funds, and they were in a club, and the real estate agent wasn't in it to be George Carlin's line. So the agents were the ones that were out showing on nights, showing on weekends, sacrificing the time, putting the deals together, and sending their money up the pyramid. And whether it's a pyramid or not, doesn't matter, the triangle, to all those people that aren't going out there selling and working their ass off. And so what EXP, and I was one of them, right? So after I sold, and so, I was the benefactor of that. I still sold and ran my business. I was a broker owner and a salesperson, which was fine. That's just what I chose to do because I love selling. But then when I sold my company and I started really looking at the contribution I was financially putting into my broker and Wall Street's pocket, how much money I was sending straight to a Wall Street franchisor, I said, is that responsible for my family? You look at big producers, for you to send $1 million in franchise fees over a period of your career, if not 2 million, is that responsible? And I'm like, that's money I'm sending to people that don't know me, that don't really care about me, that I could be creating generational wealth and doing other things with. So, love what the traditional brokers do. I think they're fine. I got no problem with it. But for me as a top producer, the role of the broker diminished for me. Hell, I was my broker, right? And so EXP, what they did quite, honestly, is they figured out how to commoditize the real estate broker. And they figured out how to not have the bricks and sticks. And they created this whole new way of doing real estate where the broker is in the cloud. You got one broker that can serve 1,000 people. We have an agent-obsessed staff. We have 22,000 people that service 83,000 agents all in the world. We give instantaneous answers and solutions and problem solve for our agents right now. One of the greatest things, when we talk with our mothers who are agents, real estate Tuesday mornings, you have to drive in for a sales meeting and they're getting ready, getting dressed, doing makeup, getting kids, dropping kids off, driving in the office, sitting in the meeting. Hey, at EXP, you put your hair in a ponytail, put on your yoga pants, and you go to your meeting. And so we call it the laptop lifestyle. Zoom has obviously helped a lot of traditional brokerages catch up to it. But, if you've been watching the Today Show in the morning, it's all about the metaverse. Well, hell, we had the metaverse 10 years ago. And so, we always like to draw the analogy, how many taxi cabs does Uber own? And it's 0. And how many movie theaters does Netflix own? And it's 0. And how many hotels does Airbnb own? And it's 0. And at EXP, we don't own any real estate offices. Now, do we have agents that rent space and do things? Absolutely. But what they were able to do was really let the agents keep the money. Every agent at EXP is an owner. So the rewards of ownership come directly to the agents. And our model is what's called a revenue share model, which is the same thing as a franchise. It all comes off the top. And so we've been creating wealth, generational wealth, and we have been treating agents like owners and brokers and the kings of real estate. And when I joined, we had 18,000 agents. We now have 82,000 agents. And, real estate agents who are out there producing get it. So we're the #1 company for listings, the #1 company for sales for an individual company, according to Real Trends magazine. So we're a real estate company. We list and sell, but we also give our broker owners the opportunity to make money through grants and gifts of stock and through our revenue share model.
I do have a question for you. So I want to move into that model.
Yes.
Does that allow me to bring associates in and leverage that team in a different way than, is that sort of what it gives you that opportunity?
Yeah. So, I've been in it for 3 years and I have, I think, 68 people on my team. And we help and show realtors and team leaders how to grow their team at no cost. So again, if you're in a traditional brokerage and you say, hey, I want to build a team, there's substantial cost to the team leader. And the model works. I mean, the traditional model works. I had a mega team and we did really well with our mega team. But I never had a team of 68 people. And the cost the investment it took me to have my team of 6. I mean, my team was big at 6, right? But I invested a ton of time, a ton of training, a ton of capital to make those 6 people happy. Where now we've commoditized that. I have a team of 68, and that team grew organically. And I give of myself, but I don't near give of myself what I used to. And they're happy because the support I have with EXP International is incredible. And we're having a blast. And so it's a very old system of how real estate brokerage is run. And I feel like we're on the cutting edge of that. And I learned that I didn't have to work or worry 100 hours a week to be successful in the business. So just very, very honored and fortunate to find this group of people to build business with.
That's going to lead to me, and this is something that I've always looked at in business is number one, what are the trends? Are you on an upward trend or are you on a downward trend? What's happening in your industry, no matter what it is? Is it a fad? Some things have been faddish or are going to be just periodically have benefit in a time frame. So that's the first thing I look at. And is it scalable? Can I take my business and scale it economically? And that's what I love about the concept of network marketing, because you can scale a business. It's like any other business, real estate, can you do that? So what I'm really intrigued, not on a personal basis, but just intrigued with the fact that this is a trend that's going to happen with a lot of businesses, is they're going to move to that model, whatever you want to call it, network marketing, MLM, whatever those titles are. I got a positive attitude about all those because I've experienced the success in them.
Sure.
And success is the numbers always work the same, no matter what the business model is. Right. In the insurance industry, I thought I was failing as a leader. I recruited over 500 people when I had my business.
That's a lot of people.
40 strong producers.
Right.
And I thought I was failing. And I looked at the numbers of the industry and I found out I was doing pretty good, because only 6% of anybody gets in the insurance industry is in the business 10 years later.
Right. Probably the same for real estate, to be honest.
The numbers are the same. So no matter what the business model, it still comes down to what? Your attitude, your drive, your passions, and your purpose, and then you just go. You don't. I believe you focus on results. Don't set.
Yeah, and it's partnering and bringing people in with you who are like-minded and have the same achievement level you do. So, I always talk to people. It's easy to recruit 50 people that never sell. I would rather recruit 5 people that are producers than 50 people that don't sell.
Yeah.
And so, that's the secret sauce of growing any business, is having the right people on your team.
Well, we sort of diverged into a business conversation, but I think it's all one and the same. Is
Sure.
Just having attitudes about that, because I'm all about how can I bring a different level of awareness. And unfortunately, we're in a time of transition in our country, and I believe it's probably the best opportunities available.
Sure.
I believe that no matter what's going on out there, there is something out there for everybody to improve their life with, economically or whatever. So I appreciate that I diverted off of this, but I think it was an alignment. So I appreciate that as well. So
sure.
I tell you what, we always allocate about an hour.
Very good.
For our interviews. I tell you what, I've gotten a lot out of this, Glenn, and we live in a tight circle.
Yes, we do.
With Ken Walls and Jeffrey Gittimore, and we could probably drop names all day long.
Yes.
But I appreciate the opportunity. You've been a very significant person. Your writings in your book, I've embraced them. The fact you're a football coach, it resonates with me. And so these are the principles I teach my clients as well. So
cool. Well, I would encourage you. I post every day on LinkedIn. So I hope everybody, if you're watching, follow me. I think we just hit 6 million views of my posts. So if you want Glenn Bill every day, go to LinkedIn, go to Glenn Bill, follow me, connect with me. It's a great way to get a daily dose of Glenn Bill. And just remember, I have a keynote that's called "I Hope It Gets Worse: 10 Reasons I Hope the Economy Fails." Can't wait for that to happen. I don't care that interest rates go up. None of it affects me. And as Jeffrey Gittimer always says, there's the world and there's your world. Just make sure you're taking care of your world. You are not the president of the universe. So thank you for having me, Tom. It was awesome being with you. And I love watching the show. I always pop on here and there. I think you see me when I'm driving or whatever, you'll come up. So if you're watching this, make sure you're subscribing and hit notifying. So when Tom comes on, you'll be able to listen to the folks he's with. So real honor. And I hope to get up to Wisconsin. Maybe I'll talk to you about being our attitude ambassador for Wisconsin. I would love to have that conversation. And I know you got to run. I'm going to send you an email. I'd just like to have you provide some information to me. And I'm humbled and honored to have you as a guest today. And I'm going to put you in the back room, and you're free to jump off if you need to. Yeah, I got a couple minutes, so we can sign off. And if you need me for a sec, I got 2 more minutes. You got it, bud. All right. Glenn Bill. He blows my hair back, as I say. He really, gives me a different level of emotion and an energy that I think everybody should plug into, learn how to plug into that. So G-Force. G is for gratitude. I believe it opens the gates to staying positive with the right attitude, and you can conquer anything with applying gratitude in your life. So with that all said, we're going to sign out. Have a blessed weekend. God bless.